Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome to Resiliency Matters. This is where we take the resilience research and best practices and break them down into small bite-sized pieces that we can begin using immediately to strengthen ourselves and others. What if you could learn from a professional who teaches adults how to help children heal from trauma and build resilience? Would you spend the next 28 minutes with us? What if in the next 10 minutes you learned the most important factor about handling disruptive behavior? Would you hang out with us? Who is us? My other half today is Tonya Hotchkin, Clinical Outpatient Director at Tanager Place in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Tanager touches over 5,000 children and families a year. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you.
So, I mentioned both trauma and resilience in the intro, and we know how those are so importantly connected. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I think a core belief that we have is to really empower the potential of resilience. We have to understand the depths of trauma, how trauma impacts our brains, how it impacts our bodies, what it does for us, so then we can always be intentional about fostering the concepts of resilience through everything that we do.
And why is it essential to start with a core philosophical basis that there are no bad kids? There are simply kids who are doing the best they can, and oftentimes it's because their brains have been impacted by trauma.
Yeah. A lot of people, when they start this journey of trauma-informed work and trauma-informed practices, they often want to know, what can we do? Give us the insight, give us education, give us awareness around trauma-informed practices. And we do say that before you go down that journey, it is important to start with the idea that kids all have a story, that we are made up of what we consider our private logic, the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, the way we see the world around us, and that all is shaped through our life experiences. So when we believe that there is no such thing as a bad kid, that all kids and their behavior is a communication as a need, then we can always be coming from this centered place in which we believe that children are doing the best they can, given the way that their brain has developed and the skills that they possess.
So when people are looking, as we often do, for interventions or strategies to deal with disruptive behavior, you're saying that there's a bigger piece, and it's really about resilience and connection.
Yeah, we look at, oftentimes we feel like there are two key things that are really essential to working with children. One, that they need connection, belonging, that they need an engagement with usually a trusted adult or another human being, and that two, that they have meaning and purpose in life, that they feel capable and that they have high expectations and can meet those high expectations. So we talk about when we are trying to offer a relationship with children that is rooted in resilience, that it is our jobs as adults to always be offering experiences rooted in those core concepts. So we often say, when you're teaching a child about math, or if a child doesn't know math, what do? You teach. When they don't know reading, what do? You teach. And so when they also have behaviors or they have unmet needs, it is our role as adults to teach, not to assume that they are coming with the intention or the purpose to have those behaviors or communicating through their actions, but that it is really our responsibility through our relationship with them, through our interactions with them, to offer them belonging, engagement, and to offer them meaning, purpose, agency, so that they can be successful.
So with this philosophy, then, to discipline really truly becomes to teach.
It is, and that's the root Greek word to discipline, so we don't use consequences or punishment. We do talk about discipline as the idea that when we understand trauma, when we understand the way the brain develops when it's exposed to toxic stress and cortisol, when it's exposed to trauma, that we know that children lose essential building blocks within the brain. And so when they come to us, it's our responsibility to teach just as we would in an academic sense, hands, social emotional skills, to teach regulation, to teach sensation awareness, so that we can modulate our affect, our mood, our thoughts and behaviors, so that we can be ready learners every day.
So an important part of trauma-informed care is understanding what is going on in the brain and in the mind-body connection. I know we just have a short TV show today, not a 4-hour training, but how do you begin to communicate that really important information to adults?
Yeah. One of the key things that we talk about is the concept of the upstairs brain and downstairs brain. So oftentimes we are a top-down brain, but for children of who've experienced trauma or adversity, often they're a bottom-up brain, meaning that they typically reside in their downstairs brain, so their emotional brain, their reactive brain, the brain that is just living moment to moment. And so when we want to look at integrating the brain, because that is what offers the most wellness for someone, we often talk about talking to the downstairs brain, being present with someone, reflecting their emotions, paraphrasing what they're saying, so that they can integrate into their upstairs brain and make better choices.
So you are making the point of just each of these interactions with kids being so important, and you use an analogy of planting seeds. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, it can get discouraging working with children who often have what would appear negative behaviors. And so we talk about staying really, really faithful to that philosophical view, and then also knowing that every interaction we have with a child is planting a seed. And so we can either plant a seed of resilience or perpetuate trauma and adversity. And so when you think about interacting with kids, it's always planting seeds of resilience and hope and well-being.
And you have a great story when you were talking to me about training a police department. And share that story quickly before we go to break.
Yes.
It's a great story.
So the police officer kind of talked about that oftentimes he sees kids who have generational criminal-like behaviors. And so we talked about when a kid is in his squad car, what are things he can do just in the way that he communicates with the kid. And so sitting back with the kid and asking, what are things you like? What's a hobby? What's something that you're good at? You know, I noticed that you're sitting here so respectfully in my car, and I really like the way that you're showing, you know, respect, or, you know, anything positive that you can plant a seed around, capabilities that they count, that they matter in the world, and that they can be connected in a pro-societal way, always offers opportunities for resilience.
So powerful to move from that assumption of, oh, bad apple not far from the tree, to what can I do in this moment to strengthen this child. So here's tool number 1. You are either building or undermining resilience with every interaction. Choose to plant more seeds of hope, resilience, and well-being in the lives of children. The you intervention when we come back.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Well, teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome back to Resiliency Matters. Today we are speaking with Tonya Hotchkin, a clinical director who strengthens kids every day. What has your personal path been to this work of childhood adversity and resilience?
Yeah. One of the things that I often talk about in the trainings that we do is that early on in my career, I struggled with some kids therapeutically. When sessions would come up, I would feel sensations of anxiety or worry about seeing them. And I tell a story that I talked with my supervisor, and at the time she said, you know, we don't always connect to everyone. And I don't totally disagree with her, but in the moment I felt like I had a larger responsibility to the children I was serving than to transfer or discharge them. And at that time, you know, the world works in mysterious ways. I had stumbled upon the book Parenting from the Inside Out by Dr. Siegel. And this was actually before I even became a parent. And I read the book, and it was pivotal in my career and in my personal life, really reflecting and looking at we all have stories. We all have our own adverse experiences. We are a sum of all of our parts. And that until I became aware of that and was able to be connected to self and centered, it would be difficult to offer the most healing experiences for children.
So what is what you call the you intervention?
Yeah. It's funny, you know, and I joked with you the word intervention, you know, but really the you intervention is about that you are the number one tool in helping children become resilient or offering seeds for resilience every day for children. And that the you is so powerful, and until you know the you and how influential you can be in a child's life and the way you communicate and interact with them, we often say that other things will have a difficult time falling in place.
We were joking about the word intervention because people in our field really, really like that word, or the people we help like that word because they want help. What do I do here? And you and I agree so strongly that it's less about an intervention and more about connection and providing those expectations and support and just really relating to kids and being that trusted adult.
Yes.
So, but we know we need to do what we need to do to you know, communicate effectively. But I do love you know, that phrasing of the you intervention because the power of each person to make that difference. So in order to do this work, then we need to understand ourselves better. That's where you were saying, sharing Dr. Siegel's book. What are some of the self-assessment tools that you share with adults so that they can begin to have those, that is my stuff that I'm bringing to this interaction with this child?
Yes, so often, you know, we are using things like the Myers-Briggs, there's a colors personality test we use, concepts from Adlerian theory by Dr. Terry Cotman, the personality priorities, crucial C's. One that we think is so huge is the love languages assessment, really about exactly what you said. How can I understand myself and be really intentional every day with children so that when I'm responding to children, I use the word responding, not reacting. So when I'm responding to children, I know that that response is rooted out of a centered, calm, regulated place that is really working to plant seeds of hope and resilience and not coming from a place that is about our own negative private logic or mistaken beliefs or taking things personal, that it really is coming and fostering children's potential.
And a lot of these assessments are actually available for free on the internet. So one thing that we're going to collaborate on, we decided over coffee last week, is we will write up, and I can write up a blog, we can have links, we can kind of sum up all of these assessments. Because when adults continue to get that insight, they become better parents, they become better partners, spouses, right, and colleagues and people. And so we are going to work together to get some of that information out. I appreciate your efforts on that. One thing that we adults often do when whether it's a crisis or just escalated behavior, we want to fix it. We go into fix-it mode. Why doesn't that work so well?
That kind of relates to what we talked about in the first segment, is that we operate primarily as adults in what we consider our upstairs brain, you know, planning and logic and, you know, always being prepared for the next thing. And so when children are in their downstairs brain, that emotional brain, that reactive brain, that living in the moment brain, we talk about when you as an adult go up to a child and you say something from an upstairs brain mindset, like, if you keep doing that, you'll have to go to the office. That's not a bad thing, that makes sense, but you're speaking, per se, a different language from where the child is in their brain. And so we often talk about speaking that same language, talking to the downstairs brain to get them to the upstairs brain, and being really centered around not going into fix-it problem-solving mode. It's what we want to do as adults. We say, there's a problem, let's fix it. And our amygdala is hijacked to say, do, do, do. And lots of times we struggle then just being present with children, just being with another human being and monitoring our own breathing and just offering a regulatory space so that children can then soothe or regulate and then move to their upstairs brain.
So what might that look like? I think you just did a little bit of it as you were talking, because my mirror neurons were like, oh, okay. So what might that look like for an adult to practice at home? To say, okay, when I'm facing some behavior that is making me start to feel like this, how might I want to approach that child?
Yeah, I tell this story, and I'll tell it quickly. I know we'll run out of time, but I came home one day and my niece, who is 13, was what we'd say in her downstairs brain. She was sitting on the couch and not following maybe an expectation I had, and then saying some things that weren't typical of her. And so I went up to her and I just put my hand on her shoulder and took 5 deep breaths myself, because old school Tanya would have said, get to your room, or, you're being disrespectful, turn off the TV. But I knew she wasn't in her upstairs brain. And so I took deep breaths myself. I said, you seem to be feeling sad and frustrated. And I just stayed present with her and monitored my own sensations and my own feelings and at the time my own thoughts. And then it allowed her, and she became emotional and then was able to disclose what she was really upset about. So behind the defense mechanism, behind kind of the verbal exchange, there was something real there. And had I not gone up and been present and been centered and stayed true to the emotion that was being presented, I don't think it would have allowed her an opportunity to really explore and then integrate her brain between the upstairs and downstairs functions.
So powerful, allowing her to feel safe and then to find her own path and way of communicating. So here is tool number 2. You must be centered and calm before truly helping another. When you know your tendencies and take care of yourself, you create a safe environment for others to make better choices. Making big changes for our kids starts with daily small actions. Stay tuned.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome back to Resiliency Matters. Today we are speaking with Tonya Hotchkin, a trauma and resilience trainer to help adults support youth. And we're going to step into kind of the bigger discussion of system interventions. What are system interventions?
Yeah. System interventions talk about the moving pieces of everyday interactions and everyday systems that are built to support resilience and always come from a trauma-informed perspective. You know, that could be anywhere from discipline practices to classroom management, to community circles, to social emotional curriculum within your classroom. It can mean a lot of different things.
So even though it sounds like a really big lens, and it is in that it's an umbrella, we're still really talking about specific interaction by interaction pieces on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about the moving pieces of every day. So when you have the philosophical view in which we talked about, and you are aware of self and centered with self, then it's about what are things that I can do every day to promote and have prevention to keep kids in their window of tolerance and building and planting more and more seeds of resilience.
I think most of our viewers are familiar with IQ, and I would guess less with EQ. So
Sure.
educate us today. What is that relationship?
Yeah, it's so, funny that you asked, because when I started this work, I'm a therapist and I was doing school-based therapy, and everything was about IQ, right? Third grade reading, math scores, are we proficient here, are we proficient there? And so I was really trying to find my place in the academic setting. And I stumbled upon a research study that really looked at what is the building blocks to intellectual intelligence, to your IQ, to post-secondary education. What are those indicators? And I knew for sure it was going to be like third grade reading or something. And it was really about what level in which someone rates for emotional intelligence by kindergarten, which made sense because if we don't know how to interact with others, if we don't know how to have eye contact or be respectful or how to prepare for a day, none of the other stuff will actually probably matter. And so it is my belief that EQ is the building blocks and it is the foundation for IQ and for all academic functioning.
So what are the key components to EQ?
Yeah, there are a lot of different frameworks and beliefs, but one that I adhere to is from Trauma Loss in Children, and they believe that the foundational things to EQ is one, emotional awareness. For a lot of people, they think that's just about feelings, and actually what we believe is that it starts with awareness of sensations in our bodies, that's the first cue and indicator of anything to follow. So emotional awareness is the sensations and feelings, and then we move to emotional regulation. So my ability to stay in my window of tolerance, as Dr. Siegel often talks about, or my ability to regulate feelings, thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and then it goes into social skills, so daily interactions, and then relationship skills, so trust and those things that really develop adaptive, healthy relationships.
And I know you have a large toolbox of activities that foster EQ. Share some things with us.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is what we consider a calm down or a regulatory space in classrooms. And again, we call it an intervention, but really it's preventative and it's built into what we would consider the culture and the climate of the classroom. So it's not about just the tool of a calm down corner, but it's about how do we integrate and use this every day. And so we talk about a culture that's centered around that every child needs this corner at different times throughout the day, and we'd even say in the first 2 to 3 weeks of school that everyone gets prescribed it, 5 minutes a day to experience what is in that corner, what it means to be centered with self and regulate self, that even a teacher would put themselves in the corner or place, if you will, and that this is so important to build this idea that we all have sensations, we all have emotions, and we all need time to be centered and reflect on those and to work on regulating those throughout our day-to-day activities so that we can be aware and intentional and so that we can have those building blocks to really be effective in day-to-day relationships.
Such an essential piece to have all of the children do that and the teacher be modeling that as well.
Yeah, everything's about modeling. And it's never about those kids or the bad kids. It's that we all need this as human beings. It's important and helpful for everybody. I create a safe space in my workplace that a couple different times I go and check in. It's important to do that, to really authentically be with self and be with others in a way that allows for connection, belonging, engagement. And so we do talk about it. It is the culture. It isn't an intervention. It isn't, you don't send kids to it. It's a safe place where kids can understand and realize the importance of being centered with self.
I saw a recent post by one of my friends whose daughter has anxiety, and she said not only does the classroom have a type of activity box, but that she had to advocate for her child, but they approved where her child could bring things from home that she could self-soothe. Is that another type of?
Absolutely. We talk about trauma as a sensory-based experience, and so resilience and healing is also a sensory-based experience. And so, you know, all of that occurs through our senses, through tactile or auditory, or the variety of different ways in which our body integrates information. So all of those things, and allowing sensory-based experiences rooted in resilience and rooted in, you know, positive facilitation of children's capabilities, and that they count, and that they're courageous and are connected to the world, are all things that then can override any, you know, traumatic neural pathways that are in our brain.
So that work focused on strengths-based and that mattering.
Yeah.
So essential. We also hear a lot more, I think, growing of yoga, of mindfulness or meditation. What are you seeing in those areas?
Yeah, and so we truly believe that we're a brain-body matching machine. And so anything that we can do to facilitate mind-body activities in a sensory-based way always offers healing and resilience for children. So doing mindfulness and yoga and being present and understanding what sensations are in my body and what that could mean, so that I can be preventative and either take deep breaths or go connect to another safe person. All of those things offer the amount of emotional intelligence that's really needed for successful human beings.
Excellent. We had such great tips. We're heading into the third one, but I'm going to share all of these with you again because there's a lot of meat here. But our final tip is emotional intelligence includes self-awareness, that awareness of emotions and sensations, emotional regulation, social skills, and relationship skills. Environments that foster emotional intelligence fuel academic learning. So there's a review of your 3 tools that you, with every choice, are either building or undermining resilience. Choose to plant more seeds of hope, resilience, and well-being. You have to know yourself and care for yourself to do this work. And we taught you a little bit about emotional intelligence. So thank you, Tonya, for joining us today.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us on Resiliency Matters on MediaCom MC22, your local programming.